You can bleed for people. Break yourself for people. Be the one who always shows up, always gives, always forgives. And they will still wipe their feet on you like you were nothing. Wake up. That kind of kindness is not virtue. It is a sickness. And what you realize by the end of this video may be the thing that saves your life. Have you ever laid awake at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, chest hollow, asking yourself the same bitter question again and again? Why do I keep draining my life to protect other people, only to end up alone in the storm? You swallow the disrespect. You choke down the humiliation. You keep giving until there is barely anything left, all because some naive part of you still believes life is keeping score, that the universe sees your sacrifice, that one day your goodness will come back to you. But no sky is coming down to reward you. No invisible force is stepping in to defend your dignity. There is only one brutal truth. You are not building moral credit. You are burying your self-respect alive. This world hides a very convenient lie inside beautiful words. A lie designed to make you easier to use, easier to guilt, easier to control. And right now, I want to rip that lie open. If you are carrying wounds from being the one who gave too much, tolerated too much, forgave too fast, and made yourself small just to keep the peace, do not leave this video. Stay until the end, because this is not soft comfort. This is not the usual, just keep being a good person speech. This is a hard reset. Now let's get honest. What exactly are you doing with your one life? Why do you keep shrinking so other people can stay comfortable? Why do you keep saying yes with your mouth while your whole body is screaming no? Why do you keep acting like blind sacrifice is the price of being loved? Why do you keep calling self-erasure kindness? Wake up. That belief is one of the sweetest poisons ever planted in a human mind. It got there early. It came dressed as morality. Be good, be easy, be understanding, be selfless. Don't be difficult. Don't disappoint people. And slowly, you learned something deadly. That being loved means being useful. That being accepted means being convenient. That your value goes up when your needs disappear. But in a cold, practical world, unconditional niceness is almost never interpreted the way you want it to be. It is not automatically admired. It is not automatically respected. And it is definitely not automatically protected. Most of the time, people read it as weakness. Your endless willingness to give does not put a halo over your head. It gives people access. It tells them you can be leaned on, pushed around, emotionally billed, and quietly consumed. It turns you into a doormat with a heartbeat. People drag their mess across you, step over you to get where they want to go. Use your patience, your loyalty, your labor, your silence. And when they are done, they act like your pain is your problem. The bitter truth? The person who knows how to say no often gets more respect than the person who is always available. And I'm saying it because I know this trap from the inside. I've been there. I've carried the scars of trying to be good for everyone. I've replayed nights where my effort was taken, my loyalty was used, and my silence made people feel safe doing it again. Because people notice weakness fast. They can sense the person who is scared to offend. They can feel the one who would rather betray themselves than create tension. And the more you retreat, the more they push. The more you tolerate, the more they take. The more you keep the peace, the more peace they steal from you. So let this be the moment it ends. This is the part where the cheap mask of fake niceness cracks. This is the part where the weak, compliant version of you stops running the show. Because life is full of power dynamics. And if you never learn how power actually works, you will spend your whole life as a disposable piece in someone else's game. If you want to stop living like a pawn, you have to look straight at the poison that has been eating through your backbone for years. You have to stop calling it kindness when it is really fear in a nicer outfit. Because the habit of people-pleasing, self-minimizing, over-explaining and betraying your own needs does not come from deep love. It comes from fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, and a desperate hunger to be approved of. As children, many of us were raised in systems that praised obedience and punished resistance. Good kids were cooperative, quiet, easy, agreeable, and somewhere along the way, a warped belief got wired into you. If I want love, I have to earn it. If I want acceptance, I have to make people happy. If I want to matter, I have to be needed. If I want to be safe, I cannot disappoint anyone. So be honest with yourself. Every time you force yourself to do something you do not want to do just to help somebody else, is there not a part of you begging to be seen, begging for appreciation, begging for proof that you matter, begging for one small sign that says you are enough. A lot of people are not just helping, they are negotiating for worth. They are using service to beg for validation. They are trying to fill an old hole in the chest with approval from the outside. That is why they overgive. That is why they panic at the thought of disappointing people. That is why they would rather cut through their own feelings than let someone else feel uncomfortable for 10 seconds. So instead of risking rejection, you reject yourself first, again and again. That is the pattern. That is the sickness. And here is the hard truth. Any affection you buy with obedience is cheap affection. It is conditional, transactional, fragile. It lasts only as long as you remain useful. The second your limits show up, the mask slips, the warmth disappears, the gratitude dries up. The same people who benefited from your sacrifice suddenly act like you betrayed them just because you said no one time. One no can erase 100 yeses in the mind of a user. That is how little your suffering meant to them. You may not just be a nice person. You may be addicted to playing the good one. And like every addiction, it comes with a brutal cost. It makes you numb to your own pain while making you hypersensitive to everybody else's moods. You walk carefully, talk carefully, soften your truth, edit your reactions, shape-shift depending on who is in the room. You become whatever the moment requires so nobody gets uncomfortable, and over time, you start disappearing. That is the real tragedy. Not just that people take from you, but that you slowly vanish from your own life. You become a shell. No clear voice. No center, no boundaries. You lose your right to anger. You lose your right to fairness. You lose your right to say, that hurt me, that crossed a line. No, I'm not okay with this. You lock yourself inside a prison built one compromise at a time. And maybe the deepest pain is not what other people did to you. Maybe the deepest pain is the moment you look in the mirror and realize you have been abandoning yourself for years. You turned on yourself just to keep earning fake smiles from other people. You trained yourself to be easy to pressure, easy to guilt, easy to manipulate, and then you wondered why you felt invisible. This is why. Because the more you perform goodness out of fear, the less real you become. That is not kindness. That is self-erasure with polite body language. When your inner world has been wrecked, there is one thing strong enough to rebuild it and protect what is left of you: the word no. 2 letters. That's it. But those 2 letters can change your whole life. A boundary is not a wall that blocks love. It is a filter. It lets what is healthy in. It keeps what is toxic out. Without boundaries, your life becomes an unlocked house full of valuables, with the doors hanging open and a sign outside that says, "Take whatever you want." Then you act shocked when people do exactly that. You cannot keep blaming the world for being harsh while you keep handing people access to your peace. So start here. Stop apologizing for your existence. Stop acting like protecting your energy needs a courtroom defense. Stop feeling like you owe everybody a long explanation every time you refuse something that drains you. You do not owe anybody a paragraph because you skipped a pointless hangout. You do not owe anybody an essay because you refused an unreasonable demand outside work hours. You do not owe anybody your time, your labor, your money, or your nervous system just because they asked. No, I can't help. That is a complete sentence. It does not need an excuse hanging off the end. It does not need 10 extra lines to make somebody else comfortable. It does not need a nervous apology. At first, saying no will feel wrong. Your heart may race. Your throat may tighten. Guilt may rise instantly. Your body may react like you just did something cruel. You didn't. That feeling is not proof you are wrong. It is proof old conditioning is getting challenged. It is proof the obedient version of you is panicking. Let it panic. Hold the line anyway. Look people in the eye. Stay calm. Say less. The first time you say no, some people will look confused. Let them. Stay steady. Because once you stop collapsing on command, something changes. People learn that access to you is no longer automatic, that your time is not free, that your emotional labor is not public property, that your peace is not available for rent. And eventually, they start adjusting. That is what boundaries do. They expose entitlement. They burn through manipulation. They force reality into the open. And hear this clearly. Do not be afraid of losing people when you start setting limits. Anyone who leaves because you stopped sacrificing yourself was never loyal to you. They were loyal to the benefits. They liked your compliance. They liked how easy you were to lean on. They liked having access without accountability. So if they walk away, do not call it loss, call it removal, call it cleanup. Because the moment you start honoring your own time, energy, and emotions, something powerful happens. You stop attracting people who are looking for easy access, and you start making room for people who understand respect. Real relationships can survive a boundary. Fake ones break the second they hit one. That is why boundaries are not cruelty. They are clarity. They are self-respect with structure. They are the way you teach people how to treat you. And yes, some people will call you difficult. Good. Better difficult than easy to use. Better respected than drained. Now comes the part that separates insight from actual transformation. The moment you start building boundaries, the people who fed on the old version of you will not clap for your growth. They will resist it. This is where your backbone gets tested. And the biggest threat in this stage is usually not open aggression. It is emotional manipulation, subtle guilt, psychological pressure. The people who benefited from your lack of limits will suddenly act wounded when you develop some. They will say things like, "It's not that serious. You've changed. You used to care. You've gotten selfish. You're cold now." And sometimes they will not use words at all. They will use silence, withdrawal, victim energy, disappointed faces, moral pressure, whatever makes you feel like the bad guy for finally protecting yourself. Because your freedom threatens the version of you they were comfortable using. And in your quietest moments, doubt will show up. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am being too harsh. Maybe I should just go back to the old way and keep the peace. Do not go back. That tension you feel is not proof you are wrong. It is the pain of rebirth. If you fold here, people learn something dangerous. They learn your boundaries are just mood swings. They learn you can be guilted back into position. So let them be upset. Let them gossip. Let them make you the villain in their version of events. Sometimes being the bad guy in the story of someone who used you is the clearest evidence that your self-respect is finally working. If today is the day you stop the cycle, comment 1. Not for me, for you. Make it a marker, a line in the sand. But there is one more thing you have to be ready for. Loneliness. Real loneliness. Because once the toxic ties start breaking, the noise around you may disappear fast, and suddenly life gets very quiet. That silence can feel brutal at first. Because for a long time, even bad company felt better than empty space. But remember this. It is better to drink plain water in peace than poisoned wine in a loud room full of fake connection. That loneliness is not punishment, it is purification. It is your life clearing ground. It is the empty field before something real can finally be built. So do not run from the silence. Sit in it, listen to it. Let it show you who you are when nobody is pulling on you. Because silence will sharpen you if you let it. It teaches you how to stand without applause, how to breathe without permission, how to exist without being chosen. And once you learn that, you become much harder to manipulate, because people can only control what still depends on them. If you stay the course through all of that, if you keep choosing yourself through the guilt, the pressure, the backlash, and the quiet, something powerful starts happening. You change. Not in a fake, performative way. Not louder just to prove a point. Not colder just to look strong. You become steadier, cleaner, harder to shake, more real. Once the poison of constant submission leaves your system, you experience something a lot of people never fully taste: real freedom. Not the shallow freedom of doing whatever you want. Not reckless freedom. Not selfish freedom. Real freedom is when your mind is no longer owned by other people's opinions. You move through life differently. Your breath changes. Your energy changes. Your posture changes. The fear that used to leak out of you gets replaced by something calmer, presence, self-possession, a quiet kind of authority. Now, when people come into your life, they do not just barge in however they want. They meet a threshold. They feel the standard. They understand there is a line. New relationships no longer build themselves on guilt, pity, or convenience. They are built on mutual respect, on honesty, on balance. You can still be kind. You can still help. You can still care deeply. But now your kindness has standards. Now it has direction. Now it has discernment. It is no longer free public access for anyone who knows how to look helpless. It becomes a conscious gift, something given with awareness, not fear. You learn how to support people without cutting yourself apart to do it. You help from fullness, not desperation. You care without needing to be consumed. You give without needing to be approved of. And the second disrespect shows up, even in a small form. You know how to step back. No drama, no begging, no speech, just clarity. That is power. You sleep deeper, eat better, think clearer. Now when you look in the mirror, you no longer see a tired servant waiting for scraps of love. You see someone sovereign, someone who belongs to themselves. The old wounds do not disappear, but they change shape. They become evidence. Proof of what you survived. Proof of what refined you. Do not regret letting the old version of your kindness die. This world does not truly respect people who destroy themselves to be liked. It responds to people who know their worth and refuse to betray it. From this moment on, no person and no system gets to strip you of your value again. The old you dies as a compliant victim. The new you rises with self-respect, standards, and a spine. Welcome back to yourself. That is the journey. From approval addict to self-respecting adult. From emotional servant to grounded human being. From someone who needed to be liked to someone who finally knows how to stand. And yes, it is a brutal journey. It costs comfort. It costs illusions. It costs fake closeness. It costs the old identity that survived by shrinking. But what it gives back is bigger than all of that. It gives you your life back. We started by exposing the poison underneath the need for approval. Then came the first cut of freedom, the word no. Of course, the price is pushback, manipulation, resistance, loneliness. But inside that pressure, something stronger gets forged. Your inner world gets sharper, cleaner, harder to invade. That wall of boundaries is not there to block love. It is there to filter out disrespect so real connection can survive. And when the storm finally passes, you are not the same person anymore. You are no longer a shadow surviving on borrowed worth. You become rooted, self-owned, dignified. So never forget this. Kindness only has value when it stands next to self-respect. The best life is not the one where everybody likes you. It is the one where you never have to betray yourself just to belong. And the deepest truth of all is this. Kindness without discipline, standards, and boundaries is not selflessness. It is self-cruelty. Your value does not come from how useful you are to other people. It comes from how well you protect your dignity. Saying no does not make you a bad person. It just reveals who is benefiting from your lack of one. Real kindness is a conscious choice, not an obligation forced out of fear. So if you want to bring this into your life starting now, begin with simple moves. Stop saying yes right away. When someone asks you for something, buy yourself space. Say, "Let me check my schedule," or "I'll think about it and get back to you." Next, practice saying no without over-explaining. Start small. Stay polite. Stay firm. "No, I can't do that." "No, I'm not available." "No, that doesn't work for me." And stop there. The more you explain, the more people think your boundary is a negotiation. After that, learn how to handle guilt, because guilt will show up fast. When it does, breathe and remind yourself, this is not proof I'm wrong. This is withdrawal. This is what it feels like to stop being addicted to playing the good one. And finally, clean up your relationships. Let the people who disappear when you stop overgiving disappear. Do not chase them. Do not beg them to understand. Then put your time and energy into the people who can hear no without punishing you for it. Before this ends, I want to ask you something. Who is the hardest person in your life to say no to? Family? A close friend? Coworkers? Your boss? Put it in the comments. And if this message gave you something real, subscribe. This channel is for people who are done abandoning themselves just to stay lovable. For people who want their clarity back, their strength back, their standards back, their life back. Because maybe that is the real truth here. You were never meant to be everybody's safe place while becoming a stranger to yourself. You were never meant to keep bleeding just to prove you have a good heart. You were never meant to earn your place in this world by making yourself easy to walk on. You do not need to become cold. You do not need to become cruel. You do not need to stop caring. But you do need to stop offering yourself up as a sacrifice. That is not love. That is fear wearing a halo. And once you finally see that, everything changes. Because the moment you stop asking, "How do I keep everyone happy?" and start asking, "What does self-respect require from me right here?" your life starts turning. Your posture changes. Your choices change. Your relationships change. Your future changes. That is where the rebirth begins. That is where your real life begins. and that is where you finally come home to yourself.